My girlfriend's mom warned me not to trust her. Now I know why she begged me to read her daughter's journal. I'm a 29-year-old man, and for the past 3 years, I've been in a relationship with a woman named Juliet. On paper, everything was great. She was beautiful, kind, funny, emotionally mature, the kind of partner people envy. Or at least that's what I thought. Her mother never liked me much. From the beginning, she was cold, polite but distant, always watching me like she was waiting for me to mess something up. Juliet said her mom was just protective, that she was like that with every guy. But a few weeks ago, her mom pulled me aside at a family event, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You need to read her journal." I laughed, thinking she was joking, but she didn't smile. She said, "I know it sounds crazy, but I'm trying to help you. Read it before it's too late." That sentence hasn't left my head since. And last night, I found the journal, hidden under Juliet's winter clothes in a box labeled, "College Stuff." I wasn't ready for what I read, and now I don't know if I'm living with the woman I love, or someone capable of something much, much darker. The journal was wrapped in an old hoodie, at the bottom of a dusty box. The cover was plain black leather, worn at the edges. No name or decoration, just her messy handwriting on the first page. Private. Do not read. I hesitated. I know how it looks, violating someone's privacy like that. But her own mother had told me to read it, practically begged me, and she'd never spoken like that before. Not to me, not about anything. So I opened it. The entry started when Juliet was in college, about 5 years ago. At first, it was harmless. Lists of things she wanted to do before turning 30, thoughts on lectures, boys she had crushes on. But a few pages in, the tone changed. There was one entry titled, Experiment Pound 3, Daniel. It described how she had deliberately flirted with a guy in her literature class, who had a girlfriend. The way she planned the timing, what kind of perfume she wore, how long she waited before sending a harmless text at 11:47 p.m. She wrote, "It's fascinating how easily people give in, especially when they think you're vulnerable." I thought maybe it was fiction, a writing exercise, until I flipped to the next page. There was a printed photo taped in, a selfie of her and a guy I didn't recognize, clearly taken in bed. He was asleep. She was smirking at the camera. The caption underneath read, "She never knew." He cried afterward. My hands started shaking. The next section was a series of shorter entries, each dated, each titled, Observation. They were about people she knew, roommates, classmates, exes. Notes on their behavior, how they reacted when she pretended to cry, when she said something vulnerable, when she ignored them on purpose. One entry simply read, "Cried in the kitchen today for 17 seconds. Waited 12 seconds after silence. Jenna hugged me." Weak. I started to feel sick. Page after page, it became clear. Juliet wasn't just journaling her life. She was documenting people, like test subjects, friends, lovers, roommates. And then, I found an entry with my name. Observation, Max. Day 14. My chest tightened. She wrote, "He's so easy to read. He leans in when I talk about my ex. He softens when I mention my father. Cries during movies. Overcorrects when I go quiet. Craves harmony. Thinks it's strength. It's actually weakness." There was a whole section titled, How to Keep Max Loyal. Keep eye contact during fights. Touch his face when apologizing. Say, "I never felt safe before you." Once every 3 weeks. Cry only when backing away. Never when confronting. Let him feel like he saved me. I had to stop reading. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just manipulation. It was strategic, cold, calculated. I closed the journal and sat on the floor for what felt like hours. I thought back to our first fight, when she disappeared for a day and came back crying, saying she couldn't lose someone like me, to how she always managed to diffuse my anger, to how every moment of doubt I had was followed by a perfect, emotionally charged moment that made me feel guilty for ever questioning her. Was any of it real? I didn't know what to do. She was due back in an hour. I couldn't think straight. So I put the journal back, where I found it, and sat on the couch, waiting. When she walked in, she smiled, kissed me, asked me how my day was. I smiled back. But inside, I felt like I was sitting across from someone wearing a mask. And the scariest part, she had predicted this too. The last line of the entry about me said, "If he ever finds this, he'll freeze. He won't confront. He'll observe, just like me." She was right. And now I don't know if I'm safer staying quiet, or if the woman I sleep next to every night is just waiting to see how long it takes before I break. For 3 days after reading the journal, I didn't say a word. I couldn't. Something inside me had snapped, quietly, without sound, like a thread in my brain that held everything together. Juliet acted exactly the same. Sweet, attentive, affectionate in the exact ways she knew would soften me. But now I saw it. Every hug had intention. Every silence had a timer behind it. Every vulnerable moment felt like it had been rehearsed in a mirror. And worst of all, she knew I read it. She never said it, never accused me, but something in her shifted too. It started with little things. She asked me, out of nowhere, "Do you still think I'm the same person you fell in love with?" That was 2 days after I touched the journal. Then she said, "Sometimes I wonder if you'd still love me if you saw every version of me." Another time, she looked at me, after dinner and asked, "What do you think manipulation looks like?" I pretended to laugh. She didn't. She was circling, testing, watching, and I knew that game, because I'd read the rules. She had written in her journal, "When someone suspects, never confront. Let silence breed uncertainty." Most people confess through fear alone. I was living inside one of her experiments now. And it wasn't just me. She started changing around other people too. At a dinner with my parents, she told a story about me crying during a fight, making it sound like it was cute. It wasn't the story itself. It was the way she looked at me while telling it, measuring my reaction. Then she gently touched my arm, and said, "He's so sensitive. It's one of the things I love most about him." But the smile never reached her eyes. My mother pulled me aside later, and asked, "Is everything okay between you two?" I said yes. Because what else could I say? That I found out my girlfriend runs emotional simulations on people and writes about them like she's building a user manual. I didn't sleep. Again. I kept replaying every early moment of our relationship. The time she cried when she told me about her parents' divorce. The time she asked me what kind of father I'd want to be someday. The time she held me when I told her about my ex's betrayal. Every moment I thought brought us closer might have just been another box she was checking. Then I made my biggest mistake. I went back to the journal. It wasn't where I left it. It was gone. I checked the box, the closet, every drawer. Gone. When I turned around, Juliet was standing in the hallway, holding a cup of tea, watching me, quietly. I was looking for my charger. I lied. She sipped her tea. Everything's exactly where I left it. That night, she climbed into bed, rested her head on my chest, and whispered, "Have you ever kept something from me?" My whole body froze. She traced a finger across my ribs. Because I've been thinking a lot about trust, and how sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who watch us the closest. I didn't answer. I couldn't. She fell asleep 10 minutes later, or at least, pretended to. I lay there for hours, listening to her breathe, wondering if she was already writing about this in her head. I thought about leaving. I almost packed a bag that night, but I didn't. Why? Because I needed to know how deep this went. Because I still didn't understand why her mother told me to read the journal. And because, somehow, I wasn't afraid of Juliet hurting me. I was afraid of what she wanted from me. Because this wasn't just about control. This was about something else. And I was starting to feel like I wasn't her boyfriend at all. I was her final case study. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow. Not because I was scared of Juliet, but because I needed a way out at any moment, fast. A part of me still wanted to believe I was being paranoid. That maybe I'd read too much into her journal. That maybe she was just intense, or broken, or misunderstood. But that hope was dying. Fast. Everything she did now felt off. She cooked my favorite meals, but only when I was distant. She cried once, but with no tears. She asked me 3 times in 1 week, "Do you still feel lucky to have me?" And each time, I answered yes. Because I didn't know what would happen if I said no. One night, I checked the door locks 3 times before bed. I'd never done that before. She noticed. She whispered, "You don't feel safe anymore, do you?" I told her I was just tired. She kissed my forehead like I was the child, like I was the one unraveling. That night, I had a nightmare. In it, Juliet was standing in front of me, holding the journal. Except in the dream, every page was blank. And she said, "You were the only one I couldn't finish." When I woke up, my chest was damp. Her hand was on it. She was already awake, just lying there, staring at me. Then something happened that broke the cycle. Her mother called me. Not a text, not a voicemail, a direct, unexpected call at 7:13 a.m. I answered immediately. She didn't say hello. She just asked, "Did you read the last entry?" My stomach dropped. "I read a lot," I said. She replied, "No, the last one. The one folded into the back pocket." I didn't even know there was a pocket. She gave me a time. "Wait until she's at work. Then read it. Then call me." And she hung up. That day, Juliet said she had errands to run. Hair appointment. Something about replacing a pair of jeans. She kissed me on the cheek, smiled sweetly, and walked out the door at 10:11 a.m. By 10:15, I was tearing the apartment apart. I found the journal inside a laptop sleeve, tucked in a drawer she never used. It looked untouched. Same cover, same slight bend in the spine, I opened it, flipped to the back. There it was, a small slit in the lining. Inside it, a folded page, separate from the rest. My hands were sweating. My vision was shaking. I unfolded it. And read the date, 2 weeks ago. The handwriting was messier, like it had been written in a rush, or during an emotional spiral. The title said, Final Phase, If Max Finds Out. I started reading. He read it. I know he did. His silence changed. His eyes search for traps now. He's hesitating. He's becoming someone else. And it's fascinating. He's the only one who made it this far. Most men crumble the moment they suspect. They pull away, or explode, or confess. But not him. He's still here, watching, playing along. I can't decide if I love him for it, or if I want to break him just to prove I can. If he confronts me, I'll cry. If he leaves, all right. If he stays, he's the one. Not the one to love. The one to finish. There was no signature, no follow-up, just that. I read it 5 times. Then I sat on the floor of the living room and tried not to throw up, because this wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. This wasn't about a broken girl playing with people's hearts. This was a blueprint, a final chapter, and I didn't know if I was the protagonist or the corpse. I called her mom. Immediately, she picked up on the first ring. You read it? Yes. She sighed like she had been holding her breath for years. Then she said, I've been trying to stop her since she was 16. And that's when I learned everything. Everything Juliet had done before me. Everything her mother had discovered. Every relationship she had studied, then destroyed. And what she had done to the last man who tried to leave her. Her mom's voice was calm, but there was something in her tone, like she was walking me through a minefield she'd memorized by heart. She said, I tried to stop her before it got this far with you. I thought maybe she'd changed, but I was wrong. And now you need to listen to me very carefully. I asked her what she meant by finish him. I wanted to believe it was just a turn of phrase, a metaphor for emotional destruction. She said, do you know what happened to her ex, Felix? I remembered the name vaguely. Juliet had mentioned him once or twice in the early months, said he'd cheated on her, gaslit her, destroyed her emotionally. I even remember feeling sorry for her, furious at this man I'd never met. Her mother took a breath. Felix ended up in a psychiatric clinic. He was diagnosed with paranoid delusion, kept saying he was being watched, recorded. Said someone was studying his reactions. He stopped trusting anyone, especially women. I went cold. She continued, but Felix wasn't delusional. Juliet destroyed him, and not just emotionally. She paused. She drugged him once. Light stuff, but enough to disorient him. Hid his phone, messed with his alarms, manipulated his emails, gaslighted him until he didn't know what was real anymore. Then walked away before anyone could trace anything back to her. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I couldn't breathe. She said, he never pressed charges. He didn't want to admit what happened. His family blamed his mental breakdown. But I know my daughter. I know how far she's willing to go when someone gets too close to the truth. I asked why she never reported it. Why she never stopped her. Her voice cracked for the first time. Because I failed her. When she was 13, something happened with a teacher. Something I didn't see until it was too late. She never trusted anyone after that. She built walls. Then started turning people into projects. She took another breath. Steadier now. I don't need you to forgive her. I need you to survive her. Then she gave me instructions. Don't confront her. Don't leave suddenly. Act normal. Start distancing emotionally. Gradually. Record everything. Keep notes. Tell one friend you trust. Just one. Wait for my message. I'll help you get out. I felt like I was in a spy thriller. But this was my life. My home. My girlfriend. Who, at that moment, I realized I no longer knew at all. I hung up, shaking. At 1:04 p.m., Juliet texted, on my way home. She never used that emoji before. It felt intentional. I cleaned up fast, put everything back, sat at my desk and opened random tabs, so I looked like I was working. When she came in, she was glowing, almost too glowing. She dropped a new pair of jeans on the bed and said, Babe, do you remember what we talked about last month? About maybe moving somewhere quieter next year. I froze. Yeah, I said. You mean the house thing? She smiled. No, not a house. A reset. Somewhere far. Just the two of us. No noise. No distractions. She leaned in and whispered, imagine a place where it's just you and me. No one else. It felt like a threat wrapped in a fantasy. I smiled back. Somehow. Sounds perfect. She kissed my cheek. Then whispered, I think we're finally aligned. That night, I started a secret note on my phone under the name, Work Tasks. Every little thing she said. Every strange moment. Every pattern I noticed. I wrote. Woke up with laptop moved 3 centimeters on desk, toothpaste cap off again, never does that. No mention of journal, but keeps asking if I'm still me. moved sock drawer completely, said, cleaning, cooked again. Even though she hates cooking, asked, if I disappeared, would you follow me, or rebuild alone? I copied the note to a USB drive, hid it in an old headphone case. I told my best friend Paul everything, not the whole truth, just enough. That Juliet was unstable, that I needed an exit plan. He didn't laugh. He said, I've had a weird vibe about her since the start. Say the word, I'll be there. I waited for Juliet's mom to contact me again. Days passed. Nothing. Then, on Friday night, Juliet came home early. I wasn't expecting her. I was sitting at the table, typing into my private doc. She walked in, completely silent. I didn't hear the door. When I looked up, she was standing there. No keys in hand. No purse. Just standing, watching me. I clicked the screen off. Too late. She had seen it. She tilted her head. Work stuff. Yeah. My voice cracked. Reports. She smiled. I'd love to read it sometime. And that's when I saw it. The journal. In her hand. She walked past me, placed it gently on the table, and whispered, you stopped reading too soon. Then she walked to the bedroom and closed the door. I sat there, frozen. And when I finally opened the journal, I saw a new entry, written that day, in red ink. If he reads this, it means I've won. If he stays, then I've found someone as twisted as me. And if he runs, I'll follow. I stared at the door, and knew I had to leave. But I also knew, if I made one wrong move, I wouldn't be running. I'd be hunted. I barely slept that night. Every creak of the apartment made me flinch. I kept the USB with all my notes in my hoodie pocket. I didn't lock the bedroom door. I knew better. That would only make her suspicious. Juliet lay beside me, one arm across my chest, like she was tethering me in place. Her breathing was slow, rhythmic, almost hypnotic. I stared at the ceiling until the sky turned gray. Then I made a decision. Today was the day I'd leave. I texted Paul at 6:11 a.m. Need extraction. Noon. Code blue. He replied instantly. Got you? The plan was simple. Pretend everything was fine. Say I had a work call in the afternoon. Go out for groceries, and never come back. Paul would pick me up to blocks away, where cameras couldn't see. But things never go to plan. Not when you're living with someone like Juliet. At 9:30 a.m., she made pancakes. She never makes pancakes. She brought them to the table, smiling, wearing my hoodie. She sat across from me, chin in her hand, watching me eat. Are you happy? She asked. I nodded. She tilted her head. Lately you've seemed distracted. Like you're not here. I forced a smile. Just work. She smiled back. You're a bad liar. Then she reached into her hoodie pocket, and placed something on the table. My USB stick. My blood ran cold. I hadn't even noticed it missing. She said, you dropped this yesterday when you changed your hoodie. Her tone was flat. No anger. No accusation. Just observation. Like she was logging my reaction. I didn't touch it. I just said, thanks. Then she leaned closer. Tell me the truth, Max. Are you planning to leave me? My mouth opened, closed. I blinked, trying to think of a lie that wouldn't sound like one. Before I could speak, she said, it's okay. I already know the answer. And she pulled a small key out of her pocket, held it up. I read your note file. I froze. What note file? I whispered. She smiled. Work tasks. Clever, but not clever enough. She stood up, walked slowly to the kitchen drawer, opened it, pulled out my backup phone. I reset this for you 2 nights ago. Hope you don't mind. My legs were numb. My fingers twitched under the table. Fight or flight. Except both options felt fatal. Juliet sat back down. Her voice softened. You know what I find most beautiful about this, Max? You're the longest anyone's lasted. Most people collapse after 2 weeks of pressure. But you're still here, still playing. I didn't say anything, because I didn't know what she wanted me to say. Confession. Apology. She reached across the table, took my hand, and whispered, you made me feel something I didn't think I could anymore. Real fear. Real connection. Real loss. Then her grip tightened. But you broke the rules. And now, we have to finish. She stood, walked into the bedroom. I heard the closet open, drawers slam, footsteps pacing, then silence. I bolted, grabbed my wallet, left the USB, ran barefoot down the stairs. My lungs burned. I didn't even lock the door behind me. Paul was already waiting at the corner. He saw my face, didn't ask questions, just drove fast. We didn't talk for 10 minutes. Then I asked, do you think she'll come after me? He looked at me. No. Because if she's what you say she is, she won't chase. She'll wait. She'll rebuild. And she'll pretend like none of it ever happened. Until the next Max walks through her door. I moved cities that week. Changed my number. Deleted my socials. I kept in touch with her mother, discreetly. She messaged me once. She's quiet again. I think you scared her. Or maybe you cracked something in her. But I know better. Juliet doesn't crack. She adapts. She evolves. Sometimes I still check my locks 3 times. Sometimes I wake up thinking she's standing over me. I haven't dated anyone since. Because now, every smile looks like a test. Every tear feels like a trap. Every, I love you, sounds rehearsed. And maybe I'm broken now, too. Maybe she did finish me, just not in the way she expected. Maybe I got away, but I don't know who I am anymore. And some nights, I swear I still hear her voice whispering, "You are the most fun to watch." Follow me for more stories.